Welcome to Human Potential at Work, the show where we explore social impact, inclusion, and empowerment of everyone, including persons with disabilities. Your host is Deborah Rue, CEO of Rue Global Impact and co-founder and chairwoman of Billion Strong, an identity and empowerment organization designed to bring billions of voices of persons with disabilities together. To join the global community and to donate to the cause, visit billion-strong.org. That's billion-strong.org. And now, on to the episode.
Hi, everyone. My name's Deborah Rue, and I'm the host of Human Potential at Work. I'm also the CEO of Rue Global Impact. I'm very proud of our new identity-focused global nonprofit, billion-strong.org. Welcome to the program. And I'm going to do a quick visual description. I'm a mature woman with gray and white and purple hair. And today I have on lots of blue and greens and white. And I have on blue glasses. And I'm really excited about the conversation that I'm going to have today with Estela Lugo. And hopefully I said her name right, Estela, but good, because I've been known to really mess up names. But her website is embraceIT.life or embraceIT.life. And I like her work, and I've been watching what she's doing. And as y'all know, I really like to talk about leaders. She's joining us from Long Island, New York, but she's really looking at this overall. How do we all be fully included? So needless to say, her work really spoke to me. So Estela, let me turn it over to you to give a brief introduction, and also maybe you can give a visual description as well of you too.
Sure. Thanks so much, Deborah. Yes, my name is Estela Lugo. I am a Latinx woman. I have dark brown, long, wavy hair, a sleeveless brown turtleneck, and behind me is a ivory tapestry. So yeah, I'm super excited to be on your incredible show today and just sharing a little bit about the work that we're doing towards inclusion, and really grateful for this opportunity.
Tell us how you got started in this field.
Yeah, I'm a disabled woman. I was diagnosed with Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease when I was about 3 years old. It is a neuromuscular condition affecting my hands, feet, legs, vocal cords. It's as common as MS, which a lot of people are very surprised to hear. But there is very little awareness of it. Most people have never heard of it before. It is a genetic condition, so it is hereditary in many cases, some cases not. And so my sister and I grew up with wearing leg braces when we were in kindergarten, since kindergarten on, and it was just our norm. Growing up, we didn't know anything different. It was a blessing and a curse that we both had it. It was just the two of us, so we never really felt alone in the world. We had each other to lean on, symbolically and physically. And so we grew up in a Hispanic family in Long Island, New York, and we were really blessed in the fact that our parents, although they had no idea what to expect and they had never heard of this, they were not ashamed of disability. And they literally put us in the spotlight. They submitted our photos to the Muscular Dystrophy Association, where we became the poster children for the first decade and a half of our lives. And so every weekend was a celebration in many ways, where we were attending fundraisers. We were attending all these fun events and dance-a-thons in the 80s, and we were on the Channel 12 News and meeting celebrities and on fashion runways. And so we thought, hey, this disability thing isn't that bad. And we're meeting all these wonderful people. We went to summer camps as kids. And so that was definitely a turning point in our lives, where we realized, okay, this is not just us. We were able to connect with other kids with all different types of disabilities, which was really eye-opening. And it really gave us a sense of gratitude for the type of disability that we had, but also awareness that disability was so much larger than ourselves. And moving through my education and life, because the sports were not really the best option for me, I gravitated towards the creative arts, design. I pursued an interior design degree from Fashion Institute of Technology. Originally, I wanted to go for fashion, but because of my hand weakness, sewing was going to be a very big challenge for me. And so I always loved the arts and gravitated towards that. And I lost track a little bit of the advocacy world, because I was a young woman. I had just been married. I wanted a career. I wanted to make money. I wanted to be a famous designer. And now disability became something that I had to overcome in order to do those things, right? In order to be successful. And it was very challenging commuting to New York City every day and the public transportation system and all of those things. And it started to wear on me. And after I had my children, I decided, okay, I'm gonna try this whole entrepreneurship thing out. I'm gonna start my own website and design furniture and design children's products and things like that. And I did really well with that, but something was still missing, right? I was still hiding this part of me, this disability side of my life that was affecting everything that I did in my day to day and my career. And so I came across this documentary called Bernadette. It was a trailer for a documentary on Facebook. I was just on Facebook. It was new. It was 10 years ago. And I was like, wow, this woman had CMT just like me. It was a beautiful documentary. It was raw. It was vulnerable. It was her showing her life. It was showing this disease. And just felt completely compelled to reach out to her. And from then on, what can I do to benefit the disability community now? Like, how can I take what I've learned, my creative skills, and apply that to my community because I've had that lived experience. And from there, I just started volunteering, offering creative services, marketing, anything I could do that would be beneficial. And fast forward, I work full time for the foundation now. We've developed countless of really supportive programs in addition to the research that we're doing for CMT treatments. And from there, we've launched a podcast with my partner, Lainey Ishbia, and I, and that organically grew into workshops that started for just the disability community. I have now grown into workshops for brands and colleges and schools and anyone under the sun that's really interested in learning how to start the conversation around disability.
Yes. And as you tell your story, is your sister involved in the work that you're doing?
She is to some degree. She had children older, a little bit later in life than I did, so she's full on hands-on mom right now. But she, in her own way, she has really done some incredible things and broken some barriers of her own. She's become a pastry chef, which, as I said, sewing was something that I wasn't prepared to pursue in my career, but she pursued a pastry chef career, which is a lot of people were like, really? Are you going to be able to do that? And she's made the most beautiful cakes. Her stuff has been on television. So, in her own way, as a woman living with a disability, she really is a great example of breaking barriers as well.
And following her own path.
Yeah.
That's what she wanted to do. And
Yeah.
if she's a good baker, she should be able to be a baker. So I love it.
That is
I know that you did in 2019, you did a TEDx, which was Repurpose Your Pain.
Yeah.
Love the name of it. And I was just wondering if you'd tell us a little bit about that talk.
Yeah, the TEDx was a really great opportunity. The opportunity came before I even had a talk. So usually it's the other way around. You have a talk in mind, and then you apply. But this kind of fell into my lap, and it was a great opportunity to really reflect. If I had one message to leave the world, which is a lot of pressure to put on yourself, but really that's what TEDx is, in a way. How do I take something that's unique to my personal experience and put that out in a world where they can benefit from it and apply it to their own lives? And so I really thought about my journey, and I spoke a little bit about how Bernadette and how that documentary really ignited a new mindset in my life as far as how can I take all of these experiences that have been painful. We had a great childhood, but still there's trauma involved just from growing up with a disability and all of the challenges and all the barriers that it presents. How can I take that and apply it to the bigger picture of all of us have something, right? All of us have, whether we grew up with abuse or all of the grew up with parents or were alcoholics or any of many things that bring adversity into our lives. How can we take that and flip it and then make it into something beautiful, turn it into our life's most beautiful work, which is what I'd like to say. And I also made a connection with a young man who just so happened I came across paths with him a few weeks before my TEDx talk, and I was like, that was the missing piece. I spoke to him. He did not have a disability, but he suffered from depression, and at one point he was suicidal in his life. And I made this connection, and as I spoke with him, What was it that was missing from your life that made you feel like you were on the verge of taking your own life? And it really came down to not having a purpose in his life. And I framed my talk in a way that this is how we can take our pain. Everyone has something painful in their lives. If you don't know what your purpose is, everyone has something painful in their lives, that if we look and see what were some of the things that I could have used during those moments, how do we listen to our community now and see what they need? How can we take our experience and say, this is what I did. Maybe this can help someone else, whether that's
Yeah.
sharing a film, whether that's sharing a book, whether that's just speaking openly and vulnerable about how hard that experience was for us and how we got through it. We can all repurpose our pain to some capacity.
Yeah, I agree. And I will say that he might actually have had a disability because, of course, disability is such a big term.
Absolutely.
We include mental health in there. We include
Correct.
depression and severe anxiety. So, and
Absolutely.
if he was struggling that much that he wanted to kill himself, it's very possible that he was part of our community, which
Absolutely.
I think is part of the things that we really are challenged. Our community is so big, and I've had people say to me, "What do you think the biggest problem is?" People don't even know they're part of our community or want to be part of our community
Yes.
because disabilities is broken, which of course we're trying to change that with all the work that we're all doing, the identity work. But I also want to explore another topic with you. I have found when I'm working with different groups, different cultures, that they handle disability inclusion in different ways. And in the Latino community, and I'm being very generic here because
Mhm.
there is a huge Latino community all over the world. It's a very large but I often see the Latino community, especially in Central America and some of the Latin American countries, struggling more than other communities with this. I get the impression because I'm around a lot of amazing Latino leaders. It's almost like a pride thing in that we take care of our own. So we're going to take care of it for our own family. We don't need to worry about everybody else. So it's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, I find that it's very isolating for that community. I was just curious. I see you shaking your head at what I'm saying, but I was curious if you want to talk about it because it sounds like your parents didn't go there at all.
No, I was very, that, like I said, we were very blessed in that way. But we have heard many stories. Even Katerina Rivera was on our podcast, who we love. And there is a stigma in a lot of the cultures, including Latino families. I think there's a lot of pride and shame. I think as a culture, we pride ourselves on being very strong and self sufficient, and we don't like to ask for help, which can be really detrimental to our internalized ableism, right? Because if we grow up with this mindset that asking for help is a weakness and we have a disability and we need to ask for help, that's where we're butting up against that every day. So I think that's one part of it. And it's not just isolated to the Latino family, but a lot of families that take pride being independent, which is wonderful. But part of being independent is being able to ask for help when you need it. And I think this is where Lainey Ishbia and I, my partner for our workshops, we saw this as a recurring theme and need to have this conversation about how do we ask for help in a way that feels good? How do we first, as a disability community, because I think it's two parts. We as disabled people need to find our tools and connect with the tools that help us identify our internal ableism, first of all, and then how do we navigate that and how do we get out of that mindset, because it's not only detrimental to ourselves but the community at large, right?
Right.
Then on the other hand is how do we speak openly about disability and how do we get the inclusion from society and corporations and things like that. But that's why our workshop started with the disability community, because we know we live through our own experiences, shame and not wanting to ask for help. And we hear this all the time. People, oh, I feel like such a burden because I have to ask for help. And
Right.
so we really start with that conversation. What is it about disability that you feel is so shameful? Right. And why is it that you feel like a burden? And what are the things that you're overlooking, all the value that you bring into the lives of the people around you? And how can you be a better advocate for yourself? How can you use humor? Our workshops are fun. They're not lecture style, they're interactive. How can we use humor as an icebreaker when somebody asks you the same question every day? What's wrong with your legs? How can we have a section where we call the comeback, right? We have everybody kind of think about a funny comeback or something to say that would be out of the ordinary with all these questions that we're asked every day. What happened to your legs? Oh, you said, oh, these leg braces, these aren't leg braces, these are my stormtrooper boots. And like all of these, how can we make these interactions a little bit more human and fun? And how can we balance the power dynamics in these conversations, right? How do we take power back and not feel like we're a victim in these everyday interactions?
I agree, especially because often when people are asking these questions, they're not asking to hurt people. So we also have to be advocates and leaders because there are many people that are afraid to ask questions because they've been attacked by our community. And they're so afraid to ask. That's what I deal with all day long.
Mhm.
So afraid to ask the wrong thing. And when I tell somebody that they might be using language that is not preferred by large amounts of people in our community, because by the way, we as a community have not decided the language.
Correct.
We in the United States have our opinions, the UK have the, but we as a entire community have not decided the language. So it's still being fought. We're
Right.
still figuring it out. But so there's a balance also with, and I'll give an example. I'll give a grounded example. I am a white woman with curly hair, which sometimes drives me crazy, but my hair is different from a lot of my African American female friends. And I remember I live in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and my governor at the time had created some legislation so that women were not going to be discriminated against because of their hair. And I remember thinking, what? Women are being discriminated against because of their hair, as somebody that struggled with my own hair. And so I posted it saying, it's amazing to me what people discriminate against another person for. And an African American woman that I did not know came back and she said, yeah, you're white privilege. And she attacked me for not understanding that. And what happened was it stopped the conversations because everyone got uncomfortable. And it was a shame because she could have instead used that as an opportunity to say, oh, you just don't know what we've been dealing with all these years. And we were made to feel that our hair as African American women is not good enough or there's so many ways that we could have engaged in a conversation. And I was not trying to hurt her. I was actually trying to help the conversation. So
Right.
a mistake that we make a lot in our community, globally, nationally, is we attack people for saying it wrong. I think you
Mhm.
had an opportunity there because humor is a great equalizer. Humor is a great way to remind each other we're just we're
Mhm.
humanizing the conversations. But I just wanted to give you a chance to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. In conversation after conversation, there's so much fear around saying the wrong thing. We actually had someone at Lainey's TEDx talk when at the actual event. It's up on YouTube, so check her out. We'll hopefully put the link there. But a woman came up to us during the intermission. She said, "Thank you so much for your talk. I'm a very extroverted person. When I'm walking on the street, I say, 'Have a blessed day' to people on the street. And then when I come across somebody with a disability, I hesitate because I don't want them to say, 'Blessed day.' Do I look like I'm having a blessed day?" and get reactive and get defensive. And I think that's just one example of maybe you have had an interaction with someone with a disability that maybe they were in pain at that moment and they snapped back at you. And this is why I say it's a two-sided
Mhm.
conversation, because we as people with disabilities have to understand that we have a responsibility to represent not just ourselves but the disability community at large on how we communicate with people. Unless I can let go of that internalized shame on my end, I'm not going to be able to sit down with you and have a conversation and be able to know and not take offense to the way that you're asking me questions and just educate you and provide some tools that will help future conversations and provide better language. So we give perfect examples of this. We say, instead of "What happened to you?" say, just speak with the person like a regular person. You would never walk up to someone on the street and say, hey, what's going on with that huge zit on your face? We would never point out someone's flaw that we've never met in our life, but somehow we think it's okay to
I
walk
agree.
up to somebody using crutches and say, what happened to you? And
Yeah.
remind them of their disability.
Yeah, people with disabilities are it's like they're for everybody and pregnant women. It is not okay to walk up to a stranger you don't know, a woman, and put your hand on her belly. It's not even if she's pregnant. She's not public property, but it's the same thing.
Yep.
I have friends. There's a woman I know that she works in the United States government and she walks to work and she has a cane and she's blind. And people stop her all the time saying, "What are you doing? Are you okay? Do you need help?" And they mean well. Every day, Estelle, when you go into work, you have to stop and help people be inspired that you're working. That's really annoying. Also give it back. It is
Oh, yeah.
also the people with disabilities jobs to make everybody else feel good about
Yeah.
themselves. So the point I was trying to make is these are very nuanced conversations because yes, we want to help society grow, but at the same time, my gosh, stop. It's just interesting how big these conversations are. These are big, nuanced societal conversations. And then once again, you start moving into other cultures and the conversation shift.
Right.
In Africa's, we see people with disabilities. They were horse thieves in another life. So they're being punished by karma or just stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I often say to Americans and people in the UK, you just have to understand what other cultures are dealing with and dealing with
Mm.
in these too. That's why, once again, work like yours, I think is very important because it's all of us. We can't just have one voice. We have to have millions and billions of voices
Yeah.
doing it. And I also want to say one more thing about purpose because I figured out my purpose early on because I had my daughter when I was 28 years old. I had my beautiful, amazing son when I was 30, but I knew when I gave birth to a daughter with Down syndrome that I was going to make that part of my life just because I'm was looking for a cause. I just want to say to people that if you have not found your purpose, don't feel bad about it because sometimes it takes us a while to find it and our purpose shifts and changes. So if you don't know what your purpose is and you're feeling guilty about that, don't. You want to do something to help, you can smile at somebody. Don't talk on your phone when you're going through a cashier line. Treat a person like they're human. There's so many things you can do even if you don't know your purpose. I say that because Elizabeth Gilbert, who
Mhm.
Eat, Love, and Pray, which I love her work. She's talked about that in some of her later work that sometimes people are freaked out if they don't know what their purpose is. So I think our purpose is to try to be happy, to try to love, to try to help each other. But don't feel bad if you don't know exactly what your purpose is.
Absolutely.
But just for anybody that might worry about that. But Estella, what is next? What's next for you?
Yeah, I think we've laid down a really great foundation. I think we've had some really powerful conversations over the past 4 years, Lainey and myself, just between ourselves and our guests on our podcasts and our workshops, and just really getting a good sense of what people are looking for and how to activate the conversation. I think we've taken a while to find our niche. I think there's so many incredible advocates out there
Mhm.
doing incredible things with DEI and making sure that companies and groups are being held accountable and giving them solid tools and guidelines to make the workplace more accessible and make the environment more accessible and buildings and ADI and all that. I think we have a better sense of our niche right now, which is we just want to start the conversation. I think there's still so much fear about how do we start this. We want to be more inclusive, whether you're a small company, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a university and you're getting pushback from students that are saying, we don't find your campus or your school inclusive. All of these things people don't know where to start. So
Right.
we just want to be at that ground level with you and saying it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to say the wrong things with us. It's okay to not know what to do next. Just start. And we're not experts in all of the areas of accessibility and inclusion by far, not even close. But what we are really proud of is that we've built this network of people like other advocates and other professionals who are great at what they do. And so if we see someone who says, okay, I would like to learn more about disability rights, I have an attorney that we will send them to you, or we want to hear more from the deaf and blind community, we'll send them to Katarina or some of the other incredible consultants. So there's so much out there for all of us to do. There really shouldn't be any competition. This is just like uncharted territory that we all have something really unique to bring to the table. And so that's what we're really focusing on this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I would suggest to you, because the UN has started doing this, let's not use DEI anymore. We're all going to use DEIA. You cannot have DEI if you do not have the accessibility part of it. So I just continue to remind people, don't use
DEIA. Yeah.
Include that A, because we must have access. I also want to remind the audience that, remember, 80% of people with disabilities have invisible or hidden disabilities. So we can't assume that people don't have a disability because they're in the conversation. And I want to say compliments to Lainey and all the stuff that she's accomplished with you. And I just want you once again to tell us your website, how people can find you. And it's going to take every one of us. I also want to say people will ask me to speak and stuff, which is great, but they don't want me to speak next year and the year. We want different voices, we want different perspectives. We want different viewpoints. We want to hear from people with different cultures, people with different disabilities, people with and always the corporate brains that I'm looking for, they're always trying to widen their net. They want a wide variety of speakers, which is why I make sure that you know about people like Estela and Lainey. So anyway, so one more time, let the audience know how they can find out more about your work and connect with you on social media.
Yeah, they can visit embraceit.life. So there you'll get a little bit of information on our workshops, some of our testimonies. Also, a link to our social media is on there. So we're on Instagram on embraceit_podcast. So you'll get some snippets of some of the interviews we've done on there. And yeah, most of the work that we're doing, you can find on embraceit.life.
Okay, great. And you're on LinkedIn, because that's where we met.
Yes,
LinkedIn.
Right.
Any other social media platforms? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter? Sorry.
Yeah, it's all on there. It's all on there. We're on Facebook as well, YouTube. And Lainey just launched her TEDx yesterday, so we'll be uploading that as well. Yeah, we're expanding and our work is never done, and we're learning every day from incredible people like yourself. And
we're all in it together. And there's plenty of work for everybody, as you said. You might be friendly competitors sometimes, but there's plenty of work for everybody. Also, we're going to get Estela involved in Billion Strong, because we are stronger together. Yeah. So if you have not signed up for www.billion-strong.org, please do. It's free. And we need all of us in here so we can celebrate leaders like Estela and Lainey. So thank you, Estela Lugo, for your work. Special thanks to Kevin, my producer in the background. And we will talk to everyone next time on Human Potential at Work.
Take care.
You've been listening to Human Potential at Work. To learn more about Rue Global Impact, visit rueglobal.com. And to learn more about Billion Strong, an identity and empowerment organization designed to bring the billions of voices of persons with disabilities together, you can join the global community and donate at billion-strong.org. That's billion-strong.org.